is happening, people? It is Brian Alsruhe with NEVERsate.com, and today's video comes directly from the comment section. I'm not sure how many of you know, but I do read every single comment, and what typically happens is I let the video sit for a couple days, let those comments kind of accumulate, and then I go back probably 3 days later and then answer almost all of the comments. So if you guys are part of the community and part of the comment section, either you've heard from me or you're gonna be hearing from me, and the whole reason why I'm such a big part of that, number one, is to help you guys, but number two, you guys give me a lot of ideas for these videos. That's directly where this comes from, as well as many of my other videos. So if you guys ever have an idea for something that you would like to be covered, always leave in the comment section down below, and maybe if enough people go to it, or enough people also ask it, or it just is something I think could help a lot of people, then maybe I'll answer it and make an entire video like this one. Now today's video is gonna kind of answer a two-part question. The first one is, how do you become more explosive? And then number two, people wanna know what explosive exercises I put around my squat and my deadlift in my giant sets instead of the antagonistic muscle group, and I will explain all of that in just a little bit. But first, let's talk a little bit about explosiveness, which is kind of controversial. A lot of people just talk about Olympic lifting, guys just talk about plyos, all kinds of things are out there as far as theories on what can make an athlete more explosive. Now, I can only tell you what I've seen over my decades of training, so I'm just gonna tell you guys a couple things that I know for sure work, the first of which is accommodating resistance with bands or chains. Now, if you're not familiar with what accommodating resistance actually is, it is a fancy term to say that the weights just get harder as you go up, so you either attach bands or chains, and as the bar goes up, the chains take off the ground or the bands stretch, and you just get more and more pounds as the lift continues on. For this reason, it builds explosiveness, because nothing will make you pull harder or faster than when something else is doing a tug of war against you in the opposite direction. The second one I know for sure that you can become more explosive is to never lose your explosiveness in the first place. A lot of the problems is, I know a lot of you guys watching this might be a little bit smaller or a little bit leaner than you want to be, so you're gonna be gaining mass over the next couple years. Now, if you stop doing your bodyweight stuff and calisthenics stuff and sprinting and moving and doing kind of more weird bear walk, gator walk, stuff like that, right? Learn to be explosive, learn to be athletic, and do that as you gain size and mass. That is the best thing that I ever did. As I was gaining size and mass, I was doing martial arts, so I couldn't really afford to get kind of muscle bound and stiff. The problem is when people go back after they've put on, 20, 30 pounds of mass, when they go back, they're dealing with their body and they need to relearn how to do basic playing around skills. If I could advise you anything, I would say never ever stop doing those things as you gain mass, and you will hold on to it forever. That's why you guys see me doing some things that you don't believe that I can do, and it's just simply because I never slowed down from when I was 170 pounds. And a highly underrated way to build up your explosiveness is to up your core strength. Now I know a lot of people think that they have a strong core, but they don't at all. Now you can have the strongest legs in the world, but if you have a core that buckles like a wet paper bag when you start to apply force, you're not gonna move any weight, you're not gonna be athletic, nothing is going to go anywhere. You need a strong core, because that is the entire center part of your body. No matter what you do, if that thing collapses, it's not gonna be good. The stronger your core, the more powerful you are and the better athlete that you can be. The next thing that I wanna mention that will help you build your explosiveness is to move heavy things like they're light and light things like they're heavy. So when you guys are doing your warm-up sets, now I'm not saying just start ripping weights off the floor when you're completely cold. Make sure you're warmed up, you have a good sweat going, you've done some stuff, but once you start working your actual warm-up sets, moving up to, let's say, a max effort deadlift, if you are not trying to move 225 as explosively as you possibly can, then you're gonna be leaving pounds out there later, because you're literally teaching your body what you want it to do. So if you're telling it at 225 that you're only gonna lift with 65, 70% of your 1 rep total maximum power output, then that's all it's gonna do, continually moving up. Your body will always fall back to what it's been practicing, especially what it's been practicing very recently. So when you're doing your warm-up sets, move them as explosively as possible. Heavy things like they're light, and light things like they're heavy. Your body will learn to go 0 to 100, so when you go up to that 700-pound deadlift, you're actually using everything you actually have, as opposed to 70, 80% of whatever you were trying to do on the way up. And the final, and probably my favorite way to become more explosive, is to just simply be stronger. If you wanna bench 225 explosively, make 500 your max. Now I know that sounds like a very stupid and common sense answer, but guys, a lot of people ask me how to do more push-ups, or how to get a bigger vertical jump, and I'm like, make your body seem lighter, right? If your bench goes up, your body seems lighter for those push-ups. You will increase. If you want to jump higher, squat heavy. Believe me, people who can squat 700 pounds that are lean can jump very, very high. And like magic, the stronger that you get, the lighter things just start moving more explosively. Yeah. So now moving on to more of the practical application of all this and answering part 2 of the question with the giant sets. Guys, if you did not know, for the better part of about 2 decades, I've done all my training in giant set format, and all that I do is basically put the antagonistic muscle group before the main mover in giant set format in the same plane of motion. So all that basically means is a fancy way of saying, if I have the bench press as my main mover for that day, I will row first, okay? So all that I'm doing is for the same number of reps, same weight, same everything, I will do my row first and then I will do my bench press. So if it is a horizontal push, I will be doing a horizontal pull beforehand. If it is a vertical push, I'll be doing a vertical pull beforehand. Now the reason why I do this is because I like to train like an athlete. I don't like to sit around and just rest between sets. And guys, a lot of studies have shown that it actually will help your bench press if you do rows beforehand. A couple things for me that does is get synovial fluid in my joint, because my shoulders do always feel better if I do some sort of pulling motion before I do a pressing motion. It really just primes your body for what you're about to use. Now I know a lot of people see someone doing like a row before bench press and they're thinking there's no way that I'll be able to bench as much as I could if I didn't row beforehand, and I don't think that has anything to do with it. I know that doing 3 rows really tires out your chest and triceps before you lay down on that bench. But I digress. So the reason why we're talking about this is because for my lower body days, I used to stick an antagonistic muscle mover before my main mover. So if I had the front squat, I would stick something like a stiff-legged deadlift or an RDL beforehand, right? Kind of trying to do those opposing muscle groups. However, as I got stronger, my posterior chain just couldn't keep up, nor could my CNS. So I had to figure out a different way to do it. And so what I stuck in place before or after my squats and my deadlifts is an explosive movement to get my hips moving as quickly and as powerfully as possible in hopes that that will translate immediately over to my squat or my dead. Now this always seemed very easy and obvious to me because these thoughts are inside my head. What I wasn't realizing is that they're not inside your head. So what I thought I'd do is just lay out about 20 some different exercises you could do to get your hips moving as explosively as possible. Now I'm gonna lay out stuff that you can do with bodyweight, stuff that you can do in a normal commercial gym, and then of course, my beloved heart, the stuff that you can play around as far as implements in Strongman toys. Now, before I get 10,000 DMs about this, guys, what exercises you stick where is completely up to you and what your goals and how your body performs. So for some people, when they're doing a squat, they like to do a vertical jump, like a box jump or something, to try to mimic that squat motion. Some people rather do like a broad jump to try to get their hip drive moving as explosively as possible. Whatever's going to work is going to be trial and error for you personally. I know it works for me. I know it works for different parts of my athletes, just looking at how their bodies moves, but you're gonna have to work this out on your own. Don't give me an email and say, what should I pair with front squats? Because the answer's gonna be, that's up to you, buddy. So without further ado, let's jump into the bodyweight ones. Now, just like I explained, a lot of this stuff is jumping. So I really, really like the idea of box jumps or vertical jumps, either one of those, trying to just get that body moving as explosive as possible. So when you move over to your squats, hopefully your body is just firing on all cylinders, trying to get everything going from 0 to 100 the second that you come out of that hole. But then I also really like horizontal jumps, like broad jumps or burpee broad jumps. I like even better because it starts warming everything up. And these days, it's actually rare to see me doing deadlifts without a set of burpee lateral jumps afterwards. You can also tie a couple of those moves together, like a tire flip burpee box jump, or just a burpee box jump onto a box, or a burpee pull up. Any of those will be absolutely amazing for warming up your hips, your shoulders, everything. Plus, you're gonna be breaking a sweat. You're just gonna go into your sets with your CNS just firing. It's gonna go so much better for you. Now, it is important to note here that when you're doing any sort of priming or explosive work before a main muscle move where you're gonna need to move a lot of weight, you wanna keep the reps low and fast, right? So for me, that weight might be something like 200 or 300 pounds in a keg or a stone or whatever the case may be when I'm trying to move explosively. But for you, you just need to keep it fast. That thing starts slowing down, you're defeating the effect that we're trying to get to translate over to your squat or your deadlift. And the final kind of bodyweight one that I want to mention is the medicine ball squat jump immediately following a higher rep set of squats. So in this, you're just going to stick your miserable self underneath the squat bar with a weight that you have no business doing 10 to 20 times. You're going to rep all those out, rack that bar, immediately turn around, pick up that medicine ball, hug it like it is a sweet, sweet little puppy, and start doing jumps. This is going to teach your body to generate force when it really, really doesn't want to. This is especially great for people like fighters, football players, strongmen, guys who need to have explosive movement for a short amount of time where you kind of hit that threshold very quickly of, I don't have anything left, but you need to keep pushing through. This helps build that as well as your mindset. But man, they're definitely burny. All right, so next let's move on to some things you can do in a commercial gym with like barbells, kettlebells, dumbbells, things like that. First thing I want to talk about is the Dimmel deadlift. Now, that's pretty much just the top portion of a deadlift where you kind of go from the top of your kneecaps to lock out, where you slam your shoulders back, you flex your butt. You do this with a very light weight. We're talking like 30, 35% of your 1 rep max. You do high reps and you move it quickly. You look like an absolute idiot doing it. However, it does tend to lead to PRs if you do it as part of your warm up on your deadlift day. But yeah. Idiot. Also on that list, I would add good mornings, very, very light. If you have experience with good mornings, if you are not familiar with good mornings and you do not like good mornings, do not do anything moving quickly with it. You're still gonna do the eccentric slowly, but you're gonna slam those hips through quickly. I don't really know that I recommend most people doing this with a barbell unless you are more of an intermediate to advanced type of individual, but I would recommend everyone do these with a band, some sort of resistance band. Pretty much you just stand on it, slip it over top your neck, and then you do good mornings. Now it's very important here to remember to push your butt back. You're not just bending over. You're pushing your butt back so that band stays over top of the middle of your foot the entire time, but you can really get aggressive with this. Now, that said, remember that you're standing on top of a band, and if you get too aggressive, you will literally rip your feet right out from underneath you. And as awesome as that is, again, like the demo deadlift, man, you just look stupid, and I look stupid enough. Of course, you can add things like power cleans and hand cleans to this, but again, I want you to stay light so that you keep that bar moving quickly. The second it slows down, do not continue to grind things out. That's the opposite of what you're trying to do. And then of course, when we're talking about kettlebells or dumbbells, I'm just looking at things like snatches or swings. Now, I think they are very, very good. However, I don't feel like you can get the full extension as much on those, so I will use those, but only as a last resort. For the most part, I try to stick to jumps or barbell stuff, or most of all, what I'm getting ready to get into, the implements. Now, I know 99% of you do not have access to any Strongman implements, much less a full stock gym of Strongman implements. However, you continue to watch this, stay envious. Plus, there's a lot of things that you guys can kind of rework on your own. You can mimic these movements or just make your own stuff. So I have many, many videos talking about how to get sandbags, how to create them, how to acquire kegs, as well as just mimic a ton of Strongman stuff in general, so you guys can find that information. You can do a lot of do-it-yourself Strongman equipment. If nothing else, guys, take a old backpack, stick as much sand in that thing as possible, use a sandbag liner, and start playing around with that thing, or get an old military duffel bag. Guys, be resourceful. Get some old tires, get a rock out of your yard, get a log, do different things, okay? You can do this if you really, really want to, but right now, let's talk about some of these awesome Strongman movements and get your hips moving as explosively as possible. Guys, keep in mind, no matter what you're doing as far as athleticism or strength sports, if your hips are more explosive and more powerful, you are a stronger individual. Meaning that if you can get your hips from point A to point B faster, you're more powerful. These are gonna help. All right, so the first one, and one of my favorite exercises of all time, is the Atlas stone to shoulder. You are doing all kinds of things with your crush grip, learning how to use your lats. You have to move your hips so explosively. If you can move a 300-pound stone, you can move a 300-pound anything. Guys, the Atlas stone to shoulder is a great way to just build up your entire body. It's one of my top 5 exercises of all time. The next one I want to talk to you guys about is the Viper press, or the log 1 motion press, all right? All that means is that you're taking a log from the lat position, throwing your hips so that that log goes explosively all the way up your body to a lockout position above your head. If you've ever tried these, you'll know that they're humbling, because that is a big implement to get moving quickly like that. However, you can also use something like just the log clean at a heavy weight, all right? For a lot of people, a log clean and press, the hardest part about that movement is the actual clean. So you're able to get more practice on an implement that you're struggling with while getting your hips moving explosively, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm so smart, I should write this stuff down. And the same exact thing can be applied to the circus dumbbell. So many people have a problem with the clean of the circus dumbbell and getting a good set position. This is an opportunity to practice it all the time without having to press it out. You're literally just gonna do the clean, get it set, drop back down, tap, and go. This will make you so much better at the circus dumbbell, because if your clean is efficient, then you have so much more energy for that press. All right, next one is gonna be a keg, a sandbag, a stone, whatever you wanna load it over a bar or up to a platform. Base thing here is that you're crushing, you're getting triple extension, trying to get up on your toes, really getting your hips from point A to point B, and completely overextending. Awesome way to get your hips moving explosively. Again, keep your reps low. If I'm doing front squats, I might only do 3 keg over bar before going directly into my front squat, because the mimicking of that hip motion is so similar that it will help you tremendously when you get to higher weights. And in a similar vein is the keg clean and press. It's almost like a Viper press in that you're taking the keg from the ground and in one motion, rolling it all the way up your body into a lockout position as explosive as you possibly can. Now, this is a very, very brutal movement if you're just learning it. Take your time with it. However, once you get good at it, you can learn how to use your hips so well just because of the awkward, cumbersome nature of it. You need to be so explosive and learn how to crank your body into a full extension position it just does amazing things for your other lifts. Next up is one of my new personal favorites, which is the sandbag over shoulder. Now, I like this so much more than the Atlas stone to shoulder or anything like that when it comes to building explosive power, because you can just chuck this thing without any care of what happens to it, right? Can't do it without a K, can't do it with a stone. Even with a stone, as you're rolling up, you need to slow down because you're gonna get to a balance point. But with the sandbag, you literally just throw it, right? So obviously how high or how far you can throw it is gonna determine on the weight. However, getting your hips through explosive enough to actually get some weight or some height on like a 250, 300 pound sandbag, your hips will become so explosive, your deadlift will just climb, your squats will climb. These are absolutely amazing and I am in love with them. I can't stop doing them. Next up is medicine ball slants. Again, you're just moving your hips very explosively, guys. I actually like these lap better with medicine balls that don't bounce. That way you actually need to get back down there, explode your hips forward, full extension, and then explode them back, just getting as much hip movement as possible in that motion. Next up is tire flips. Now I know a lot of you do have access to tires, except a lot of your tires are too light, a lot of people say. That's completely fine, guys. It's supposed to be kind of light. If it's too light, that definitely sucks. But if it's kind of light, then you can just move explosively as possible, and that will actually do great things for moving your hips even faster during your squat or your deadlift. And then finally, pretty much the most fun that you can have lifting heavy things, just doing throws, guys, for like weight over bar, keg over bar, medicine ball over bar, sandbag over bar, whatever the case may be. Throwing things is always fun and will absolutely teach you how to move your hips explosively, because if you're not explosive, you can't throw anything above your head. All right, guys, so there you go. There are like 20 plus variations you guys can throw in wherever you want to for your training, before your squats or your deadlifts, or after your squats or deadlifts. However you guys want to do it, try to get that central nervous system going so that you can start moving some bigger and heavier weights. Use whatever you can, guys. I hope this helped many of you out. I get this question all the time. So now you guys have a great reference where you have 22, 5, 6, 9 options. Now, as far as everything else going on, guys, by the time that you're watching this, I'm either going to be at the Arnold or on my way to the Arnold, where Arnold Schwarzenegger personally invited myself, Nick, and Miles all to go and meet him and do cool stuff. There's gonna be such incredible things going on that Miles has lined up for his thing. We also have Nick who's competing. We're there to help Brian Shaw out. That's the reason why we go to the Arnold. So we're helping Brian Shaw and his whole team out. Then Andy is going to be lifting at Denny Stones. We have another athlete, Andy with an I. This one's a girl, and she is getting ready to make a pretty big splash in the powerlifting world. So there is going to be so much going on. It's going to be absolutely amazing. If you guys do want to keep up, make sure you guys are following me on Instagram, and also these people. So you're going to want to follow Nick, Uncle Nick, also Miles, my wife. She's going to be there doing this whole thing with us. And you're also going to want to follow Brian Shaw as well, his wife. All those are going to be down below, either here on the screen or down below, guys. Make sure you're watching all that, the stories, everything like that. If you have notifications, turn them on, because as stuff's happening, if you want to catch it real time, it's going to be on one of those people's phones. We're all going to be together that entire time. So yeah, I don't know who's going to catch what, when, how. I'm going to get as much as I can with my camera, but if it comes down to actually having a cool experience or catching it on film, I'm having a cool experience. As I've said so many times before, guys, none of this would be possible without you. So I thank you guys so much. Hopefully this cool weekend, I will get back to you as soon as I can with just the calamity and craziness and chaos of this weekend. I am ecstatic about it. Should be a good time. That's going to be a lot of people. Hopefully I get to meet some of you. If you guys do see me, make sure you come up and say hi. I am ecstatic, take pictures, whatever you guys want to do. Just come up. It'll be very, very cool. I will catch up with you guys here on the video later. I don't know when. Anyway, whenever I do, I will catch up with you then. Until then, go out to something amazing in your lives. Keep working hard, people. Be nice to each other. I'll see you then.